Manager of the New York Mets, Buck Showalter, he was talking about that after the game with some of the guys. Hey, whose 5-year-old dropped the ball running back in? Well, Buck, I'm happy to tell you it was Evan's son. So now we know.
Hey, we have all dropped the ball at times.
That is true.
It doesn't make us a bad player. And I tell you, Mark Canna, if you got to spend some time with anybody with your child, he's the guy.
He was a good dude. My son couldn't wait to come back and tell me how sweet he was, so I appreciate that.
This is an interesting spot, Buck. With all the things you've accomplished and done in baseball, you have never managed in the Subway Series. Is there at all any extra juice for you being a part of this storied matchup?
First of all, that's not completely true. Years ago, they had this thing called the Mayor's Cup or the Mayor's something.
We can't count that, Buck. Well, then again, wait a second. Hold on. Before you continue, the reason why I may hesitate and not fight back with you, George Steinbrenner owned the Yankees, and George Steinbrenner hated the Mets. Did he put a lot of pressure on you, Buck, before the Mayor's Trophy game?
That's the easiest question you'll ask today, of course. Hey, let me tell you, we had certain games we had to win. We played the Red Sox in spring training. That's a must-win. The Mets was a must-win. You know what became one was when Tampa came in the league.
Yeah.
Because of being, him living there and everything. So, believe me, the players knew when they saw the spring training schedule that they would be making the trip to St. Lucie and they would be making the trip to then, I believe, Winter Haven.
That's crazy. And, it's so I get it because it's George Steinbrenner, but it's so crazy, right?
Well, the Mayor's Cup or whatever, I'm not sure what it was.
Mayor's Trophy game, yeah.
It was. I'm sure there was a cup involved somewhere, but I remember my son had something going on with him. He was only 7 or 8 months old, and I'd gotten a phone call that my wife was taking him to the emergency room, and I left the game. And
wow.
I was told that we had medical people would take care of all that, and I needed to stay, and I didn't. That was my first real bumping of heads with the owner, and Gene Michael said, "Where are you going?" I told him, he goes, "Good, you need to go." And another reason why I love Gene.
Did George Steinbrenner actually say something to you afterwards?
No, before I left the clubhouse. No, it wasn't after the fact. I was told that they had great medical people that would make sure everything was all right.
Wow,
but,
that's crazy.
I had to live, with my conscience and obviously my wife.
Of course.
But it all worked out.
Are the guys aware of what this means? I know the Subway Series has been going on for over 2 decades, and I'd argue as a fan it's not the same as it was in the late 90s, but the place is going to be packed. There's going to be a playoff atmosphere. Do the guys understand what the next 2 days are going to be like for those that haven't experienced it yet?
Well, we've got a mature group, and I think the thing that I've stressed to them, that if it's important to the fans, it has to be important to you. And I remember the first time I played in college, I played a real big game against an arch rival on the road, and I was from another state, and I couldn't understand what all the hoopla was about. And when I got out to left field at this visiting venue, I understood what everybody was talking about. It took me about 15 seconds out there. So, I think our players grasp that, there's a good relationship between our players and our fan base, and they understand that, things go way back. There's not much middle ground here. Either you're on one side or the other. So we also realize that, it's another obstacle facing us to get to where we want to get, just like the Yankees have. And, the season will go on afterwards. But for some reason, MLB has given us 4 days off and then given us 2 off days right after that, where we could really use them in August. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And we'll present ourselves accordingly.
Are you officially locking in Max Scherzer for Wednesday night?
Not for sure. We're doing some work here at the ballpark right now. But
what is it based? Is it based on how Max feels or something else?
No, it's based on when the Yankees make their decision who they're going to pitch.
Yeah, but why would that? My curiosity would, let's say it's Herman or Tyone. Why would that impact your decision on starting Max?
It really doesn't.
I was going to say. So I get it. We're playing a gamesmanship. Right, that's fine.
You go first.
No,
I go
we're not
second.
playing any game. We're not playing games. We're just being fair.
All right. Let me bring up something that I still don't fully understand. This is the one area where I had a big issue with you, Buck, and that was Saturday night. Why Tomas Nido with Jeff McNeil on the bench?
There's a lot of options there. A lot of things that Nido's had some big hits for us. It was kind of a left-right thing. There was also some other things that you don't broadcast everything, And there's a lot of reasons that if you knew how things were going to turn out every time, guys, you'd probably potentially do something else, but you don't. And Jeff hasn't been Jeff McNeil as of late, and had a lot of things that really not the venue to talk about, but it is what it is. And
right.
Tomas almost fisted the ball out over the fence.
No, I know.
He had a big hit with us the previous at bat. He was in a pretty good flow of the game, and I've got confidence in Tomas as I do Jeff, and they're really, I know on paper, you can talk about the left on left. But Jeff handles left-handed pitching pretty well.
No, I agree. That's why to me it made sense. Is he healthy? Is something off with Jeff right now?
No, he's healthy now.
So he wasn't healthy Saturday night.
I didn't say that. He's healthy. He's healthy and ready to go tomorrow.
Got it. I think the key word was now. That's why I haven't reacted to it.
No, he was fine that night. Okay, guys, he was fine physically to play.
Talking to Buck Showalter, getting ready for the Subway Series Tuesday night and Wednesday night. Yeah, you've already, Billy has started to make some changes now to try to give the offense more pop. Can you walk fans through, is this just, hey, that's baseball, Susan, where it happens, teams go into slumps, or do you see something that really troubles you with the lack of offense over the last few weeks?
Well, if it did, I certainly wouldn't broadcast it, but there's an ebb and flow to the seasons. There always is and always will be, and you're never quite as good as it makes you think you are. You're never as bad as it may make you think you are. And people really don't want to hear about the caliber of pitching. And we face a couple of Cy Young Award winners, or I think one of them finished second. Padres have really good pitching. And when pitching's on top of its game and hitters are on top of their game, pitchers win. But it's also a combination that we haven't been putting our best foot forward offensively lately. Hopefully last night's game gets us head in the right direction, but I'm sure Montgomery will have something to say about that. But, I think our track record will put its head back forward again at some point, but it's hard. People think you just throw your gloves out there and your bats and things follow a certain pattern the whole year. It's why we watch. It's played by human beings. There's things that appear on a field that shouldn't happen statistically if you look at the big picture. So, what do? It's you trust your players and you trust the work that's being done, and at some point it'll right itself.
I remember last year when the team was struggling with runners in scoring position, the manager at the time said, I think the guys are pressing. Like, he was honest with us and saw that maybe guys were realizing, hey, we're all struggling, and they kind of put more pressure on themselves. Do you notice or have noticed any of that this year?
Oh, of course. Have you ever heard a guy say, listen, our guys really, it's not that important to them, and they're not trying and hard, and they're not pressing. Sometimes you can want something too much, and there's two parts to that equation. We're putting people out there on the bases and doing the part, the chain, that's why people are chasing home runs so much, because it's a real short chain. You just, guy walks and the next guy hits the ball where the grass doesn't grow. I've seen teams, hit by pitch, wild pitch, a bunt, all these different little things happen, a little ball, and you score one, and the other team comes in and strikes out twice, and the guy walks and hits a two-run homer. I mean,
right.
It's just scoring runs comes in all shapes and sizes.
So do you?
Yeah, of course our guys are. It depends on what you call pressing. I call it they're wanting to.
But then
sometimes can get in the way of actually getting in the flow of it.
But then do you think, because like fifth inning, second and third, nobody out, can't get the run home, but the following inning, Pete Alonso hits the 3-run homer, and then, it kind of opens up and the team breaks through. Do you think a home run like that can almost relax everyone else and that pressing goes away a little bit because of that one big swing and that one big hit?
Well, it depends on who's pitching. Sometimes it depends on who's pitching. That's, the old saying that your momentum is who's pitching next. Quite frankly, there was a little momentum change when Nemo made the great catch at the wall. That brought a real positive flow into the dugout. And,
right.
There's a certain finality about 9 outs left or whatever, and you sometimes when you get your back against the wall, sometimes your best foot comes forward, and that's happened a lot with our guys this year. And it's funny because the season, it's not funny, but the season has so many times where you do things, and then you get to another part of the season, everything's forgotten. As a manager, they got to know that I haven't forgotten all the great things they've done to get us to this point. And, you have you trust them, and in their sense of what have you done for me lately world that they live in every day, that can't permeate in your clubhouse. While they're constantly around an atmosphere of what have you done for me lately, they have a sense of urgency each day they come in here.
Right.
They have a sense of urgency about our Mets Foundation tonight that we're doing. We'll have the whole club here in about half an hour.
Oh, very cool.
It's a very special fundraiser for our organization and our ownership.
Talking to Buck Showalter, I'll apologize in advance because I hope this comes out right. Do you think the Mets, as constituted today, do you have all the pieces you need for this team to potentially win a championship?
Sure. I don't ever call. I don't know if anybody's had better support from ownership than we have, and our coaching staff and the manager and the players and the front office. So to say that we have to have this or we need this, I mean, that would be foolish, because I'm thankful for Mark Canha, I'm thankful for Escobar, and I'm thankful for Marte and Scherzer and all the great things that we've been able to do to make ourselves more competitive. So, I'm always going to look at that's not my job. My job is to take the players we have that are very good and create the environment and put them in a position to be good. And
so let me follow up on that.
Always look from within, and making sure that any issues we have, that we try to solve them from within. And Billy walks through the door and says, we're doing this, or we're thinking about this. What are your thoughts? Which he does with all of us. Billy's a great gatherer of information. Then we'll certainly attack it. But I have to keep in mind, guys, that when somebody shows up here, that means somebody that's been here for, in some cases, all year goes away. So I have to be sensitive to that. These guys that are talking about all this stuff, it better not be from within, because it's a reflection on people that are here currently.
Right. You add a guy, you got to lose a guy.
Real quick on that, because I heard you say that last night on the broadcast. It was very interesting. Do you then have to talk to Dom Smith? I know he's on the IL right now, but clearly you guys acquired a guy that very well is going to take at-bats away from him when he's healthy. I mean, did you have a conversation with Dom about what his role may look like once he's back after this trade?
I had a conversation with Dom yesterday about something else. I'm always having conversations with players. I had, I think, 4 or 5 yesterday individually, but that's just part of communication. The thing that gets players is the unknown. And if you know something that might ease their mind, whether it might be something they may or may not want to hear, it's better to be upfront about it. But, things have a way of changing from week to week, from day to day, especially this time of year. So you have to be real careful about telling somebody something that doesn't come to pass. And, first thing, we want to get Dom healthy and then kind of see what the lay of the land is by the time we get there.
I know you have to manage, whoever's got the uniform on, but how active a role do you like playing when it comes to front office conversations about potential moves?
Well, every job I've had is a little different job description. One of the things that was very attractive to me about this job is I didn't have to worry about that. Billy and his front office have all that wired, and only thing I need to do here is stay on top of these 26 players in a good way and make sure that we're creating the right atmosphere and situations for their skills to come out. And like I said before, I don't need to do that. Billy's he's a gatherer of information. He's always grinding it as we speak. And if there's anything out there, believe me, he's on top of it. And I feel very comfortable and very confident that, we'll put our best foot forward and things like that. So no, I don't need to be involved in that. And if he needs me to give an opinion, I feel very comfortable doing it, but I've got other priorities.
We're talking to Buck Showalter. When is Jacob Degrom going to make his next rehab start?
Oh, he just threw today, a couple hours ago.
How do you look?
About an hour.
How do you look? Look good? No soreness?
I'm not one of those guys that walks by him every 30 minutes and asks him how his left toe's feeling, or how's your arm feel when you're combing your hair. He didn't want to hear that. Jake's believe me, there's nobody who wants to be here more than him. The sooner the better. But we want to make sure it's right. But we're very close to hopefully the end of this, and if not, we'll make the adjustment and move on. We've had to tweak a couple of things here or there, but it's close, and it depends on how you define close.
So do you think one more rehab start, then he joins the rotation? Is that fair to guess right now?
There's that potential. How's that?
Is there potential? I'm curious, especially with the DH, and you got David Peterson, you got Trevor Williams. Is there potential to him just making his next start in the major leagues, even if he can't go deep into a game? You've got guys that could piggyback. Is that a possibility?
No.
Okay, so we rule that out.
So you got your answer backwards. That's all.
No, well, another thing you got to keep in mind about that, it puts the bullpen in harm's way, even though you've got some off days right now. But it puts, when you bring starters in here capable of throwing very short outings, it puts your bullpen in harm's way. And quite frankly, I know we've had our moments, but I think our bullpen is ranked third in ERA in the National League, and that kind of gives you an idea of some of the challenges that bullpens have faced in the National League this year.
Do you think, and we saw it the other night with David Peterson, and obviously if Jake returns to the rotation, I'm speculating. You could tell me I'm wrong. I assume David Peterson shifts to the bullpen. Do you think he can be like a good left-handed option out of the bullpen to get a few batters? Would he be a long reliever? How do you view David Peterson out of the bullpen if that's in fact what you do?
Well, that's that's a conversation as we get further in the season. One thing I will tell you, your what ifs. Like Peterson, you imagine where we'd be without the job he's done as a starter and
he's been great
for a while.
He's been great.
So you stick him in the bullpen and something happens to one of these starters, what are you going to do?
Well, okay, that leads me to this.
Okay, go ahead.
Would you consider using a 6-man rotation when Jake is healthy and keeping David Peterson in the rotation?
I'd consider anything at some point, but right now we're not there. It's important at this stage and still in July that we have some what ifs to handle it if we have a bump in the road with one of our starters. Never assume that Carrasco or Walker or Bassett or, the whole group, Max is just coming off an injury. You better have your what-ifs in place because we're getting ready to run a period here of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 games in 13 days where we don't have an off day. So you better have some starters. And if you start pitching this guy one inning, you're not going to be able to start him if that arises.
I know we got to wrap it up here in a second. Just out of morbid curiosity, wait to hear the question. Like, you've been around a long time. When the All-Star break comes along, are you allowed to say to your family, I'm watching the Home Run Derby and the All-Star game, or is there a forced blackout in your home where you have 3 days where it's just you and the family and the pets and no baseball? Like, what do you do during those 3 days?
There's nothing morbid about that.
Okay.
First of all, if our guys are participating, like Pete, I've got a stake there. I want to watch him win. I want to make sure nobody gets hurt. We got to fix the home run hitting contest. Come on.
Yeah, the counting of home runs is not accurate.
No, and they're not supposed to throw a pitch until the umpire points it, but they're playing rapid fire. And really, the way I do it is it's not really. I was telling Carl Ravitch was talking about it. He couldn't even call it. It's 20 pitches with a machine from 60 feet with real baseballs, so to speak, and you let everybody have the same playing field. I like Pete's chances, and where it's not rapid fire and at the complete mercy of pitchers and how fast they can work and how well they throw. And there's 3 balls in the air at one time, one being thrown and 2, and there's you know if it's going to clear the fence. So
right.
The way to fix that. And the other thing is 4 days off for the All-Star break is almost too much with the bullpen because it's challenged trying to get your bullpen back and started, and that's the trouble that all the managers have post All-Star break is trying to get your bullpen back in order again. But it's great for the fans. All-Star game's always been fun. I watch bits and pieces of the game itself, and I watch as much of the home run contest as I could stand.
Got it. See, a lot of people are upset about that. I'll get into that after we let you go. Well, look, Buck, listen. I know you did the Mayor's. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Mayor's Cup was big. I'll say it again. It's important to our fans. It's important to the other team's fans, and we're looking forward to. We have a great ballpark. It's immaculate, spotless. They do a great job of making a great presentation. I think I didn't realize how good a ballpark this was until I worked here every day. Great ballpark.
I'm curious now because of this Subway Series. I remember in the late 90s, Joe Torre used to do this all the time, where he managed these games like it was the playoffs. Like, we would see Mariano Rivera get asked to get more than 3 outs, which we normally never see unless it was the playoffs. And it was clear that Joe Torre and Bobby Valentine managed it differently. Could you see yourself doing that over these next 2 games, knowing the crowd, knowing the excitement, knowing the anticipation, where you manage this game slightly differently because of the magnitude around you, or do you play it, I got to treat it like every other game?
Yes, all the above.
5-out save for Edwin Diaz tomorrow? Is that what you're telling me?
Well,
You got to look at the rest. He's pitched 2 out of 3 days. We'll see. Believe me, Edwin, I don't know if anybody's having a better year than Edwin is. He's been such a rock for us, and we never assume the things that he's been doing. But I know we do have some games afterwards, but I also do realize how important these games are to our fans. And that's really why we all get up in the morning, isn't it? If they didn't care, then we would all be playing on a sandlot somewhere.
yeah, it'd be nice if kids were playing on those sandlots. Appreciate you coming on as always, Buck. Good luck over the next couple of days and the rest of the way. And always appreciate talking to you for a few moments on the Fan. Thank you.
Thank you, Buck.
Guys, thanks for having me. You guys take care. Have a good rest of the day.